What is up, everybody? Yay, it is Thursday! I love Thursdays. Why? Because I get to have a show and bring like these amazing guests on my show. And so I always have to make sure I always say this because it's so important that when you really work with great publicists, PR agents, you know, managers, because they bring you the best people. And how I know that is because I'm looking at my downloads. Oh my gosh, like it's only been like a year and 8 months and I get about 200 to 300 downloads a month. That means you listeners that are listening to the podcast are loving who I bring on, so make sure that you share. Welcome to another day in the light of the Entrepreneur Life Show, where we bring you great influential guests. I mean, celebrities, influencers, everybody's an entrepreneur, musician, just so many great people. I always want to start off with my housekeeping, marketing out the box, who has been with me from my day one. So if you want to grow your business and be the competition, make sure you go to iwantmorecustomersnow.com with Sean Maddox. And Spin Wax Radio will be launching this year. So they're always looking for great new talent. If you want worldwide exposure in all genres, check out spinwaxradio.com. And of course, now Black Unicorn. So if you are a social media person, love social media and want to earn money, follow for equity, check out blackunicornfactory.com. So who do I have today? No, I'm just kind of like rushing by my normal intro, because I'm kind of just like impatient of who I'm having on the show today. Oh yes, and all my faithful podcast followers and listeners, you're the best. Thanks. I mean, you guys are the best. Okay, so today I have Robert E. Blackmon, and he is such a unique guest. And why? Because let me tell you, he has his feet and hands and just about everything. Some may call him like the gay Martha Stewart, but he's just fabulous. He is like an author, lifestyle specialist, fashion designer, branding coach, TikTok personality. He has it all going on. Such a pleasure. I kind of like stalked his page a bit. He's so cute and stuff. And so, I mean, when you see him, it's like you just want to have him like in your house for tea. Anyway, but I'm going to bring him on the show. You're going to love him. I love him. We're going to learn a lot. See how we can connect you with him. Robert E. Blackmon. Let's welcome him and bring him on the show. Hi, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Oh gosh, let me tell you, you're so fabulous.
Thank you.
You're so charismatic. You have such a vibrant personality. Have you always been that way?
Yes, I have. Unfortunately, to those closest to me, yes, I have always had a lot of energy and a thirst for knowledge of life and others, and you know, I don't know that when I was a little one that we realized how it would manifest itself, but I'm glad it has happened in positive avenues.
Now, just in a little bit, I just kind of wanted to jump into something because of the time that we are in,
yes.
And so coming out of, and I wanted to explore, well, if you can share about, it's kind of like you went through your own journey in this whole COVID-19 thing and with your mom, and ended up actually using that experience and writing a book. So I was hoping that if you don't mind sharing a bit, you know, on what you went through when you found out like what was going on with your mom. I think you guys were apart at the time, and how that changed into your writing a book.
Sure. So just to give people a bit of backstory, I've been in the social media space for a number of years, and so I'm bi-coastal, I guess you'd say. I've lived in Los Angeles my entire adult life, even though I'm from Michigan, and for the last 13 years, I have straddled myself between Los Angeles and Eastern Canada. I'm just outside the capital of Ottawa. And so when the pandemic started at the very beginning, I was actually in the midst, and when I say in the midst, I was like 6 days from a major photo shoot for a new athletic line that I developed and models and the house had been rented, and like we were there, right? And so when this happened, my husband, who is originally from Canada, was getting a little nervous about what was going on in Italy and in the UK and so forth. And we were like, well, maybe we should go back to Canada just because we live in a remote area. You know, we can just hunker down for 2 months, and this will be over. And so I did not have the best relationship with my mom at the time, and I'm honest about this in the book. We were, as you know, families do, we were going through some stuff. And my husband said, why don't you reach out to your mom? So I sent her a text. And I said, I hope you're doing okay and being safe because this is going on. And in Michigan, they were having a huge outbreak at the time. And she was literally in the perfect storm. She's an older black lady from the South with pre-existing conditions. She's a chef, and she's a chef in a senior living facility. And that was where it was. And she said, nope, everything is fine. They're taking your temperature, et cetera, et cetera. I said, fine. We came back to Canada, and it was a few days, and then I discovered on the news that a childhood mate of mine, who was the police chief in Michigan, died of COVID. He's my age. We graduated together. No sooner than that popped on the news. This was on CNN. No sooner than that, I got a message from my mom's best friend saying, hey, have you talked to your mom in a few days? And I was like, well, not since I got back here. Long story short, she was actually already on a ventilator.
Oh my gosh.
In Michigan. And so while we don't have an exact number, because it was such a fluid situation, she was in the first 7,500 to 10,000 patients admitted and ventilated in the country. Oh my goodness. And so every experience that we had was new. And I am of the mindset that while people have great intentions, when somebody says, oh, well, let me know if there's anything I can do. Well, with all due respect, ain't nothing anybody can do.
Yeah, so
we were very quiet about it, and it was just a close family and so forth. And she coded twice. I mean, she died twice. She was on a ventilator for 15 days, and every experiment, every drug, everything that everybody heard about on the news, she'd already had by the time it was out. Luckily, she was in a really great hospital.
Oh my God!
She survived. She was in the hospital for 79 days. It was another 6 months of recovery. She's lost 80% of her hearing. She had a lot of rehabilitation to get through, but she's living. She's amazing. She is a witness and a testimony. And the book it's a series of conversations about what happened. And so I urge anybody who is interested in the human side of this story to check out the book, Courage Behind the Mask: Story of Life and Death and Surviving COVID-19. Because in the book, I journal the doctors, the nurses, the healthcare professionals, the clergy, our family. These are literally their conversations about what we were going through. And so for me, I have a bit of a different take on the pandemic than a lot of people, because I lived it privately, and publicly nobody knew, because at that time I got on TikTok. My agent actually encouraged me to get distracted. And so by being on doing this kind of stuff, I was able to distract myself. And so I was living this very bubbly persona that people know, but at home my life was a living nightmare.
So you were basically in another state, right? Or no, another country. I was in another country.
So I was not able to get into, because the moment we got back here, our prime minister said we're locking down the borders. So I could not even, now mind you, it's less than a day's drive from me and my mom. We are literally like 8 hours drive. even if I were to able to cross the border, we couldn't get in the hospitals because in the hospitals it was just essential workers only in the hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
So the nurses and doctors, who I'm still very close with, who my mom is still very close with now, they were my eyes and ears. They were my brothers and sisters, and are to this day. So their stories are in the book as well, and they have since thanked me for that, because when they were in the throes of it, you can't think of anything. When they got home, they didn't want to talk about it because they literally went home to sleep and go back to it. And so by journaling, by having them journal in their own words what they went through or what they were going through, they are now able to look back at that with some clarity and, have a different mindset.
Oh my gosh. I can't even comment to see what it was like, what it would have been like, because a lot of people can say, like you were saying, like, what can I do, when it's like, really, what can you do?
Yeah. Yeah. So and my mom, and the last thing I'll say about this is it was about a month ago, maybe. I should say it's probably 2 months ago, was the first time that I actually went and sat at an outdoor restaurant to have a meal in 2 years. Because this really, it gave me, I didn't realize that you could get PTSD or trauma from something that didn't actually happen to you physically. But there is a trauma there because, and I talk about this a little bit in the book, but I've lost more people in my family and friends than most people even knew who have had symptoms of COVID. So for me, it's landed differently. And so for that reason, I'm still like, nope, I'm good. I'm not going anywhere until we figure more of this out. And that's for me. So I just say to people, and my mom tells people, just still treat this like we are in the throes of it, meaning wear your mask, social distance, and wash your hands. Because that's the best we can do right now, and get vaccinated.
So, I wanted to ask about how you've connected with so many influential people in Hollywood and celebrities giving advice and stuff like that. Let me back up first. How did you even get to where you thought, okay, you know what, I want to be in the industry and being because author came later, and he written a few books. So, so I want to get to the other few books, but jumping into so many different adventures, from fashion designing and branding and even like wedding stuff. You've done a lot.
I've done a lot. I've done 6 lifetimes worth of work. So the short story to that is, I knew as a kid that I wanted to be in entertainment before I even knew what that meant, before I knew what that looked like. Even in local television, there were opportunities for me in local television in Detroit. But my mom was very protective. I'm her only child, and she was extremely protective of me. And she is from a very rural Southern, upbringing. And I so appreciate now, because her thought process was, I can only do what I can do to keep you safe. And I don't know anything about entertainment. That is so completely out of my wheelhouse, and so you can't do it because I can't protect you there. I was really upset then, but I know that because of my precociousness and how I was, it was very probable that I could have been in the right situation at the right time, and I could have been one of those child stars that life happens to because the adults in their life are not properly taking care of them, and they see them as a cash cow. So I so respect now, as an older person, I respect the fact that she was like, this is not my wheelhouse. So when I turned 18, actually I was 19 when I finally left. I dropped out of college. My mom was devastated. I said, I promise I'll go back. I promise. But I'm going to LA, packed up my stuff, moved, and just wanted to get into the business. And it was still difficult because I didn't know anybody. Went back to school, studied film and film and TV, and got an internship at Paramount Studios. So
Wow, really?
I was on the Paramount lot every day, and because of just, I guess, my aura, I just was like, I live here. I this is home. And somebody spotted me and gave me a break, and I worked on TV shows, this and that, and then just did a lot of different TV shows, and I worked in tabloid, I've worked behind the camera, I've written screenplays, I did all of that, and this little part here came really late in life for me. I gladly say last week I turned 53.
Oh.
And
I'm there, I'm 54.
Looking good, baby, looking good. When you hold it together,
that's because I don't have no man and I got a wife. That's why I look so good. No, nothing against you or anything like that, but okay.
Speak on it. So, but for me, this came late in life, and I had done all the TV and I had done it all.
Right.
I had done all of that, and so I was like, I'm married now. I've had my kids. I can sit down. And I think that part of you just still kind of it's always there. If you're an entertaining kind of person, it's always there. And so I had a Facebook show that I did for 3.5 years, and it kind of developed its own following. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started to get a team. And so manager, agent, my manager, Amanda, shout out Amanda C of Amanda C Media. She's like my manager, my agent, my social media director. She's my everything. And for all of you who are out there in the struggle, in the game, my one piece of advice is get people who you trust in your camp. And that doesn't necessarily mean your brothers and sisters, Mookie down the street. It means people who are going to call you on your stuff, mm-hmm. and hold you accountable for the stuff that you say you're going to do. I have been in this and had Amanda almost from day one. I've been doing this for 7 years, and I would not be where I am without her. I would not have almost 2 million followers on TikTok without her. I would not have almost 6 billion views on Giphy. I would not be verified on 6 platforms. I would not have had 3 TV developments. I wouldn't have had any of it without her, because she has always been there to push me. So those of you out there, forget all this Instagram stuff that you see. No tea, no shade to Instagram, but do what works for you. You know what I mean? So anyway, I hope that answered your question. I didn't mean to go off on that tangent.
No. Go ahead. It just, because you've done so much, I was just like, how you were able to connect with so many people in Hollywood, and that you were even able to give advice and even the fashion designing. It's just, that says a lot about your character.
The fashion design. This is the story that people always ask about. How did you get into fashion? In 11th grade, I think, 10th or 11th grade, I had a home economics class. Now, people today don't even know what that is, but I had a home ec class because I had to fill some credits. I barely passed the class with a C, and one of the things that you had to do was sew, and I was horrible at it. My mom couldn't even sew a button. My mom can't even sew a button on a shirt. And while I was in college in LA, a friend was over, and he popped a button on his sleeve, and he said, "Can you sew this on? I'll give you $5." Now, when you are 23 and you have Taco Bell that's your breakfast, lunch, and dinner,
right.
$5 is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And so I was like, wait a minute, you're going to pay me $5 to sew your button on? He was like, yeah. The light bulb went off, and I was like, oh, this is a thing. And that was when my hustle started. That was literally where all of this started, from one button on a shirt. Because what happened was, all of his stuff that needed mending, he brought it to me. He referred me to his friends who couldn't do it. And that just started the whole ball rolling. And that was, I was an entrepreneur before I even knew what it was. You know what I mean? And so that led to, okay, well, what else can I do? And so when you say, how do you meet these people? Hi, I'm Robert. I know how to sew. You know how to sew? And that leads the conversation to people. And then when people say, can you? And I go, yes. And they're like, but you didn't even let me ask you. I say, oh, I'm sorry. What do you want to ask me? And they say, can you do such and such? I say, yes. And by the grace of Google and anything, I can figure out how to do it, even if I couldn't figure it out, because I am not missing any money.
So I wanted to talk about when I noticed that you are somewhat of a fitness enthusiast, and you're actually and I've watched some of your YouTube stuff, and you were like showing people about, even through COVID, you can still, get your workout on and your exercise on and eating right. And then you're collaborating with, a great brand, by the way. And so, how did you end up starting with the collaboration? I mean, with the fitness, I mean, is it just because you were into the lifestyle thing, just fitness and food, it all comes together?
I guess it all kind of, it's all connected. But when I was 12 years old, there was a TV show called The 20-Minute Workout. And now, I mean, they would not show the show now because it was terribly misogynistic and whatever. But I was a thick kid. My nickname was Husky. I was 10 pounds, 8 ounces at birth. And my mom, bless her heart, she's 4'11". I know why she didn't want any more kids. I get it. I was big. And so I was teased a lot for being a big kid. And when this show came on, it was 20 minutes before school started, and I enjoyed it. And I started working out, and I got fit. It wasn't for anybody else. I just wanted to feel good. Mm-hmm. And so throughout my life, I've always subscribed to the fact that I'm going to eat what I want, when I want, but I also know what moderation is. And so I just started doing it. And because I was already in the textile industry and love to sew, I'm like, okay, well, I'm starting my own clothing line. I'm starting my own fitness line. Oh, well, you might as well do your own fitness DVD. Okay, well, what does that look like? Well, you got to cast people. Okay, we're going to have a casting call. Be a director. Like, it all, because look, I'm not paying somebody something that I can do for myself. And if I can't, then I'm going to hire the crew to do that. And we did, but we did the whole thing. So I wrote the book and shot the DVD all within a 3-month period.
Oh,
and
my
the
gosh.
number one reason I'm approachable to people is because people believe me. I wrote the book, and the book that you're referring to with the DVD, it's called Get Real, Lose Weight, and Still Eat Cheeseburgers and Drink Champagne.
You have a picture on your site with the cheeseburger too. Yeah.
And on the back of the book, if you look at the back of the book, I lost 20 pounds on this program. And so it's a program that I designed. And the thing about it is, the reason that people are drawn to me is because I am not going to tell somebody to do something that I'm not going to do myself.
Yourself.
I'm not that person. And so people I'm like the gay black Martha Stewart, but the difference between Martha and I, besides all the zeros behind her bank account, is this. It's this. So if Martha made toast, she has baked the bread this morning.
Oh, yeah.
It's fresh.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
She puts it in the toaster. Hers is just perfect. If the rest of us, toast it, and if the bread happens to get burned, guess what we're going to do? We're going to scrape it off.
Make it work, right?
We're going to scrape it off and eat it anyway. And that is how I connect with people, because they realize, oh, well, you're just like me. Yes, ma'am, I am.
So, okay, so you know what this is? I just have to bring this up about, you have more than one book out there. So I want to make sure that really for your book with COVID and it's
yes, the COVID.
So I want to make sure I share the website because that book, people really should jump on that, to be honest with you,
Thank
especially
so
in this time.
Everything is at robertblackman.com. I got that from Oprah ages ago. Make sure your name is on everything.
Yeah.
People are never going to not know how to get me because I'm Robert E. Blackman everywhere on anything. So if you go to roberteblackman.com, just click on, I think, merchandise, and you scroll down the books. You can find.
Click on shop. I was there. So for those who are listening on the podcast, and it's also in the chat, so that you guys can go ahead and hit the link. Those who might be watching on Twitch or Instagram or something like that. So now I want to talk about the Gay Groom's Guide, because why does that sound like that should be a movie? I was like, when I saw that, I was like, that sounds like it should be a movie. But I want to know, did you write that because of you, or are there stories that caused you to write that?
Hold on. Sorry for leaning. Hold on. Is it right here? Is it right here? How is it not right here? I think, oh, here it is. I'm sorry. I moved it. Ham on cheese.
Yeah, that's a lovely picture, by the way. And I was like, that sounds like it should be a movie, though. Like, seriously.
So this book literally started that whole thing. It was an Amazon bestseller. So, The Gay Groom's Guide to Planning Your Perfect Wedding Without Losing Your Mind is the name of the book, right? And so this is what happened. So, as a gay man, as a gay black man, I never thought that I was going to have that thing, that dream that everybody has, the spouse and the kids and the picket fence, and I didn't think I was going to have all that. Mm. But when it sort of happened, I was like, okay, well, I want the rice and the flowers and all the stuff too. So I had been collecting, like most people, and I'm only saying, so to your audience, please do not drag me on the interwebs, but it is more common for a woman to keep her book, her scrapbook, her wish book of venues and flowers and colors and it's common. And so I was doing that, right? Because I wanted to make sure I had my stuff, but also had a spouse or a potential spouse who I needed to run this past. Because we both the same. We're both alphas, so it was like the whole process was like this, right? And so we had all this stuff collected. It was fabulous, and the whole thing, it was like the most fabulous way. So I had all this material, and so my now husband said, well, that needs to be a book. And the reason he said it needed to be a book was because when we got married almost 13 years ago, there weren't LGBTQ plus venues. There weren't places where you could just pick up a groom and a groom cake topper or a bride and a bride cake topper. All of the things that we have so taken for granted in the last decade did not exist 10 years ago. They didn't exist. And so we had a devil of a time finding resources for same-sex couples. And so a lot of the stuff that's in the book shows people, and a lot of it is antiquated, and I've been saying I'm going to make an updated version of the book. But those things just didn't exist, and that's how it came about. And TMZ found it by, I don't know, somebody sent it, and it blew up. So that's how all the literary stuff started.
And I'm glad you did say that, because for when it comes to, although, it's becoming somewhat more acceptable, it's much more harder to be accepted when it comes to now you want to write a book about you, or now you want to have your own clothing line. Okay, we already know you're there, but now you also want to be on TV.
Why you gotta throw it in people's face? Why? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm sure that some thought had to go into that when you put it out, like, oh, how are people going to take that? Because even people within your own unique family, so to speak, even have, have their judgment, I guess.
Let me tell you, real quick on that, I was really, really nervous because as large of a personality as you see and as people see, I'm the exact polar opposite here at home. Like, I'm pajamas, old movies,
right.
Just homebody, right? And so putting all of my business out on Front Street is not me. Even in social media, there are very tiny pieces of my life that people see. They think they know because, like, I have, this staircase, or I show them this, and so they kind of have an idea. They will ask me about that, but I'm extremely private about my life. When we got married, originally it was like, okay, well, we're going to have 10 people. My parents and his blah, 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 blah. 125 people later, and I preface that that's not a large wedding, but we live in a tiny, when I say tiny, it's way less than 1,000 people who live where we live, and people who didn't have passports, because my family, a lot of them are in the South, in the States, people got passports to come to the wedding. Mostly for support, but folks wanted to see what this was going to look like.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So it was very nervous for me because I didn't know how this was gonna work, but everybody has been wonderfully accepting.
So let's talk about, you have quite a bit of programs that actually you offer people who are, entrepreneurs, influencers, people, and TikTok is now like the new thing.
It's the thing.
So I wanted to ask you about when it comes to, coaching and really helping people expand their visibility, no matter what their kind of, their type of entity or what their intent or plan is. Can you talk about a few of the programs that you offer, and how that, resonates to people like us that would help us?
Sure. And it's a fluid kind of situation. So I do one-on-one coaching, and I'm very cautious about how I frame this. So I will keep it generic, and anybody who wants to reach out to me that they can, because what I'm launching in Q2 of 2022 is it's a big program that reaches out to corporations to actually teach them how to do this for not only their businesses but their employees, and their employees who are actually entrepreneurs. So
right.
Some of the programs that I offer are one-on-one coaching, and I do that for anybody who says, and it can be as brief as a 1 hour. How do I get on TikTok? And that may sound kind of like, well, don't you know? I didn't know, and it was like 3 weeks for me to figure out how the doggone thing worked. So there are lots of people who don't understand the infrastructure on social media. So I have as low as like the bare minimum of what you should include, what you shouldn't include, how that works. I also have a 3-month program that runs through the gamut of this is where you are and what are your goals to get to there in the 3-month. And then I also have a corporate, and I call it corporate because it was for businesses or small groups that may want to do it together, kind of thing. And so those are the 3 that are currently there, and I believe those may still be on the website. We're going to launch again for corporations, but we're doing that, and then also in Q2 I'm going to be launching a whole series of public speaking engagements where people can learn this stuff, because one of the things that I find so incredibly frustrating yet valuable is that as late as I am to the game in social media, I'm extremely early at getting to where I am. And what I mean by that is this. You've got your breakout stars who everybody knows. But what people don't understand is those breakout stars, they all have a whole machine behind them.
Right,
they have everybody behind them.
Yeah.
They basically have a smaller version of the Kardashians. And I'm not making light of that at all, because this is a whole ass lot of work. And so what I try to do with people is I try to explain to people, focus in on your mission and how you get to where you want to get realistically within your means. And so for me, I am, as my mom say, I'm the witness, because for somebody who started this at the age of 51, not knowing anything about TikTok, you know, I have been able to get 2 million followers and verified, which is lightning in a bottle in itself, plus all these other things and corporate sponsorships and all of this. And so if I can do it with little knowledge, people who have more resources and connections can do it. And so that's what I teach people. So if people are interested, they can certainly reach out to me.
You know, there's so many changes when it comes to social media, and I know I've learned how important social media is. On
every aspect. On every aspect.
Yes. How long do you think, you know, TikTok will be around? And if you could give me, like, maybe 3 to 5 do's and don'ts when it comes to social media pertaining to any specific type of app, whether it be TikTok, whether it be Instagram, that you could share, that people would get insight within, like, your program. Even because I noticed that you also have group, you know, that's what I was seeing on the page. And so where I guess some people don't realize that if you do have employees, that everything that you can do as a group, I guess, would expand your visibility. If you know, so if you maybe you can share a few, like, tips and do's and don'ts.
And you're right, that the group and actually that group program that I have, that's why I'm expanding that group program to corporations. And when I say corporations, I don't mean just like Procter and Gamble. But even a company with 20 employees, whatever. Because it's really important for us to have a top-down theory about social media, and most companies don't understand the importance of it and how it benefits and can benefit them, because they're leaving all kinds of money, and I don't necessarily mean cash. I mean eyes as revenue. They're leaving that stuff on the table just because they don't know. And so to answer that first part of the question, TikTok has already been around a decade and we didn't know. It will be around as long as ByteDance, the parent company, decides that it will be around. And even after it's not here, there will be something to replace it. Because what it has done, it has created a way for people to connect globally, instantaneously, and forever. It's stored there forever. And so they are the first to be able to do that. So if I write a book and I say, hey, this is my book, blah, 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 and I make a TikTok out of it, two people may see it. But it's there forever. So as it's there, somebody is going to eventually come across that in the library. That is precious real estate, you know? That's
a good way to put it. Yeah.
You know, and so the second part of that, what are some tips that anybody can take from social media? So, first, I think the first thing I need to say is buyer beware. And what I mean by that is everybody wants to be famous until they get famous. I said what I said. Because people don't realize anybody with a keyboard can say or do anything they want to impugn your reputation, and you have no recourse. None. And so be careful of what you say, what you post, what information you share. Be very careful with that, because people can and will, just for giggles, use that against you. That is not to scare anybody,
but
I will have friends, and they might not be my friends, and I'll see a TikTok or an Instagram or something, and I will send them a DM, and I will say, I just want to let you know that in that photo you took, your license plate is showing. And I'm saying that just so that they can do whatever they want.
Right.
But I'm letting them know that, because anybody who has public record to the DMV or whatever can find out their personal information from their license plate. Yeah. And it's just not something that people are aware of. People are like, my outfit is fly, click, and they take the selfie without realizing
what's in the background. Yeah.
It's just really, really important. Your kids, children. And when I say children, I mean any and everybody under the age of 18.
Right.
Not 16, not the 18. Anybody under the age of 18, and I know that this is my old black behind saying this, but I'm saying what I'm saying. You can't get mad at other people for going after your kids if they're online.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I agree with you. I'm like, so many people are using their kids for their status.
I don't want your audience to get mad, but
yeah.
I say that to say the internet is it's a useful place. It's a wonderful place, but it's also a dangerous place.
Yeah.
And so be mindful. A lot of the connections that I've made with adults, well, almost every connection, maybe one or two are with minors, and I know their parents. All of those connections are people who got on because they were trying to see what their kids were looking at, which already made me have their respect.
Right.
You know, because they wanted to see, and they were like, "Move! I'm getting the TikTok. You go play Monopoly." You know, and so be mindful. Be mindful of your kids, and also, the thing that is probably the most difficult for most people, and I struggle with this, but I'm better at the most, I think. Don't do the back and forth with people. Don't get into the back and forth. Don't, because every time they say something that's gonna step on your toe, that pinky toe, that bunion.
Yeah.
When you react, that's what they want, because they're saying, "Look at me. I'm gonna say the most shocking, heinous things to get your attention." And when they get your attention, they got you.
Yeah.
Because that's what they want. We got business to take care of. We got revenue to build. We got companies to grow. We got books we got stuff to do. Those people, let them do them, because they will get bored and go troll somebody else. So those are my pressing issues.
And you know what? And you see so much of exactly that, and cause you hear it on like just different outlets and Gag Me and whatever. Such and such said on TikTok, and such said, because they're going back and forth, and you know, and it's like, really, you know, like, is it that serious?
I can't get into the back and forth. I just can't. And every now and then, I will write something, and I'm like, look at it. Okay, you said it. Delete. You know, get it out your system. Delete. Don't put it out there.
Yeah. I
they
think
don't matter.
You know, and just talking about TikTok, and not just initially TikTok, but people who, I mean, I don't spend a lot of time on social media, but the time that I do spend on social media, and you find that, like, it could be someone like myself, and I could make something up, and oh wow, it goes crazy viral. And now celebrities are jumping on that. And so
celebrities have made TikTok what it is. Don't let anybody fool you. Celebrities have made TikTok what it is.
So when it comes to branding, and I mean, how can you even? I don't even know if you can do this. If you create something, a song, whatever, this has been going on out there. People created these dances or whatever, and then you have, and they've only got maybe 100 followers. They were just doing something fun, and the next thing, these influencers with 10, 20, 30,000 are following rather than being creative. I try to find the creative ones with with their little skits and stuff, because then it's different, and that's what keeps me following, because it's funny, versus watching everybody doing that same thing.
Right.
So I mean, there's no real protection for people like that, correct?
So there are a couple of different things in there, and a part of what you are speaking about is in my training, so I'm going to try to answer it without going into that, but I will say this. One of the things that makes TikTok and now social media special is that we have now made it acceptable, and I'm going to step on a whole lot of toes with people, a lot of older people. We have made it acceptable to celebrate by imitating. We snatched the whole livelihood of Millie and Vanilla.
That's true. Oh my gosh.
They were lip syncing. Now, mind you, they did it shady, whatever.
Yeah.
People were dragging Janet and everybody else for lip syncing. We all now celebrate the fact that someone like Britney or Nicki or somebody might lip sync while they're doing it. Why? Because you can't be singing and doing all that dancing at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not normal. It's not possible.
Yeah, I agree.
There's the rare person like Pink who can sing like that and be swirling up.
Yeah.
It's rare though. It's rare. So we now celebrate that. And so what an app like TikTok does is it allows creators, musicians and so forth, to get their music out there and for people to hear it. And by them lip syncing or copying it, they're going to share it. So now that person's music that would probably have only been seen or listened to by their mama and their auntie is now being seen, heard, and shared all over the world. They still have the copyrights to it, but this is offering it a way to be shared and viewed and listened to in a way that it would have never been before. So it is a great thing. Now, having said that, there are certain things that one should be mindful of. As you are asking me, like the 3 things about what you don't want to put out there. Be mindful of what you put out there, especially if you have not locked your stuff down with signatures and stamps.
I was going to ask about that copyright, trademark, all that stuff. Yeah.
There are certain things, and so you have to be careful about that. But at the same time, I say this. My mom always said you got to crawl before you walk, and I don't want your listeners to get down in the weeds about all of the technical stuff just yet. Build your framework, have your vision, and I will tell you, I don't care how long and old and whatever, I keep my vision board. It's weird that I do, because while I don't look at it every day, every now and then, I look over there, and what it tells me is like, you're drifting.
That makes sense. Didn't think about it like that.
You're drifting. Like, oh, well, you're drifting. So keep focused on what your plans are. Because that one plan, you think, oh, well, I had it done in a month. It may take you 3 years to get there because life happens. So, and again, going back to that, I teach that kind of stuff to people because it's important for people to know. I hate, and maybe it's because I've lived a long life.
Right.
But I hate for people to waste precious time on stuff because somebody has had this polished, like, da, here it is. You know, it's like, see what I did? And they think, oh, well, he just, and da. You don't know how long this took. This took 4 years before, you know what I mean? And so I don't like when people sell people that synthetic reality. Like, I can say that, you know, every weekday morning on TikTok, I make this breakfast thing, and I cook for people. Last week, I made banana pancakes, and they were a disaster. But that's how life is. Sometimes,
right.
And we were still like, and I'm like, you know what? We're gonna scoop this, and we're gonna put this, and that's how I try to teach people, because it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It means you're learning through the process.
Right. I love that outlook on that. So I want to say you are an absolute pleasure having on the show. I know we're running close to time, and so for those who have been listening on the podcast, you can definitely check out the full interview at the entrepreneurlifeshow.com. You can also go to the website and you can connect with Robert himself, but also we have the website on there, Robert E. Blackmon, and that's MON.com. Robert E. Blackmon, MON.com. You can check it on the website, connect with him. Check out, hey Stone, check out everything that he has going on. And I mean, you're going to love his page. I like your YouTube channel, by the way, and your Skip. They're so cute with the little, with the old lady kind of.
Church moment, yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
and I will say this to your audience. Go to my website, not because I'm saying, oh, go to my website. I tell people this all the time. Go to my website and use it as a template. Use my website as a template for what you are thinking to do. Use it sort of as a vision board. Now, I'm not saying, you know, go and make a chapter and verse, because I've used other people's websites as a template. Look at it. Go through it. There are 3 points on the top, and then you go in and you see what those are, and then you dive deeper and deeper into the various things. And so go and check out what what a brand looks like from a real person, not from some corporation who's made it all, perfect. Mm-hmm. Because mine is not perfect. There are things that are out of date because I haven't gotten to it's a real thing. So go and look at that as a template if you have questions about how do I start.
Well, thank you again for the close. I want to make sure everyone knows where to find you. RobertEBlackmon.com. A pleasure to have on the show. So lovely. And, of course, if you write another book. But actually, they can get the book on the website, too, if you want to check that out.
Yes.
Make sure you go there.
And there's a new cookbook. It's a little digital cookbook. It's a TikTok cookbook, actually. They can go and check that out. It's only $3.99. They can check that out, too.
So until we have our next show on Thursday, make sure you guys go to the website, entrepreneurlifeshow.com. You can see all the past guest interviews, the calendar for upcoming guests, how to connect with them, and until next week, you guys, bye! And Thursday!